Maybe in the course of our time, you have seen on TV and probably movies or read something about how a person who loves so much someone throws himself or herself to that kind of ordeal so that the person that is in pain or sick or suffering might be saved. That is the course of our human nature. When we love someone, we are disposed, we become so disposed in serving the other to the extent that we are ready to take up the suffering of the other person. That's the image that we get from the feast today, the exaltation of the cross. As told to us in John 3, "For God so loved the world that He gave us His only Son." For God so loved the world that God gave us His only Son. His love, the Father's love for us, had to undergo tremendous suffering through the Son. You can ask parents who have children, especially one child only, how much they will undergo to really accompany intimately their son or their daughter. And that's the image that we get here. The Father wanting to show how He loves us, gave His Son for us, so that everybody who looks up to the Son will know how much the Father loves us. When we are craving for love, when we are suffering, when we don't know anything at all about what the meaning of life is, look at the cross. The cross was the Romans' way of executing people, undesirable people, according to their law. That image became the symbol of God's love for us. We might not understand the dynamics of this, the contradiction of loving and suffering, but oftentimes we have to pass through that. When we are suffering, when we let go of our pain, we will arrive at that peace that rests in the bosom of the Father. That is our participation in the cross. The exaltation of the cross is about God's intimate participation in our lives, especially when we are in pain, especially when we are suffering. We don't seek the cross for its own sake. If we do that, then we are psychologically imbalanced. But when life gives us tremendous pain and suffering, we don't back off. We don't evade that. We look at it. If our lives is deeply rooted in God's presence, we will find meaning through our pain. Not that we embrace every pain in our lives. Some pains have to be rejected, especially what is unjust, what is unfair, what is not good for the community, what is not good for our family, what is not good for ourselves. These kinds of imposed pain we have to reject. But if there's no other way, and if we have reflected deeply on that, and if it is like Jesus Himself who initially wanted to reject the pain while He was in the Garden of Gethsemane, He embraced that because that was how He understood the Father's love for us. That Jesus had to undergo this pain and suffering and crucifixion to show us the way how to reach the Father, how to understand the Father who loves us. Every small pain, if understood in the context of God's love for us, can be stages of a deeper interaction, a deeper understanding of who God the Father is for us through the Son. The Son invites us to participate in that. Come to me, all who labor and are burdened, I will give you rest. When our pain is worked through and we understand in a way, understanding coming from the love of the Father, then we will have that kind of peace, a peace that the world doesn't give. Let us pray for that grace.